In America, we're told our military protects freedom and democracy around the world. In Norway and Denmark, they're watching us threaten to violate those exact principles against our own NATO ally. Here's the number that should terrify every American watching this: 57,000. That's how many people live in Greenland. And right now, the White House won't rule out using military force to take their land. We've spent over 50 hours digging through NATO treaties, mineral reserve reports, and diplomatic statements to bring you this investigation. And by the end of this video, I'm going to show you the one number that explains exactly why this is happening right now, and why it's breaking a 76-year-old alliance that's kept the peace in Europe. But first, you need to understand something the mainstream media isn't telling you. This is exactly why we built Nexra. While cable news gives you 90-second sound bites, we're doing what they won't, following the money, reading the treaties, and connecting the dots that no one else is talking about. We're not here to tell you what to think. We're here to show you what they're not showing you. If you're tired of surface-level noise and you want the raw data behind the headlines, join the Nexra residents by hitting that subscribe button right now. Because what we're about to uncover isn't just about Greenland. It's about whether the rules-based international order that America created after World War II still means anything at all. Let's look under the hood of this system. January 6, 2026. While most Americans were starting their week, Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre went on national radio and said something you probably didn't hear on the evening news. Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Its future is up to the Danes and the Greenlanders. Simple statement, right? Except here's what makes it explosive. Norway doesn't usually make statements like this. They're the quiet Nordic country. They don't call out allies publicly unless something has gone seriously wrong. And they weren't alone. Norway's foreign minister, Espen Barth, went even further. He told Norway's largest newspaper, Aftenposten, that if the US actually annexes Greenland, it would mean, and I'm quoting directly here, the idea about NATO would be broken. It would be a violation of the NATO pact. Let me translate that from diplomatic speak. One of NATO's founding members just said that America is about to commit an act so illegal, it could destroy the entire NATO alliance. The same alliance we've spent 76 years building. The same alliance that has 32 member countries. The same alliance that's supposed to defend democracy and territorial sovereignty. And here's the kicker, even Norway's opposition party, the right-wing Progress Party, led by Sylvi Listhaug, agrees with the government on this. In Norwegian politics, that's like Democrats and Republicans holding hands and singing Kumbaya. It doesn't happen. Listhaug called Trump's Greenland grab completely unacceptable and stressed that international rules must apply. When political enemies agree, you know something's deeply wrong. Before we go deeper, I need to know, are you still with me? Because most people will click away right now. They'll go back to scrolling, back to the algorithm feeding them whatever keeps them numb and comfortable. But if you're the kind of person who questions why the way things are isn't the way things have to be, if you want to understand the system instead of just reacting to headlines, then you're one of us. Hit that subscribe button and join the thousands of Nexra residents who are obsessed with the truth behind the data. Because what comes next is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about American foreign policy. I'm American. I grew up believing that America was the good guy. That we stood for democracy, freedom, the rule of law. That we built NATO to protect small countries from being bullied by superpowers. And now, we're the ones doing the bullying. Here's what Stephen Miller, Trump's senior advisor, said on CNN just 2 days ago. And I want you to listen carefully, because the words he uses matter. In order to secure the Arctic region, to protect and defend NATO and NATO's interests, obviously Greenland should be part of the United States. Notice that? Obviously. As if it's self-evident. As if 57,000 people's right to self-determination is just irrelevant. When CNN's Jake Tapper asked Miller if the US would use military force, Miller refused to answer. Instead, he mocked Tapper and said, again I'm quoting, Greenland has a population of 30,000 Jake. First of all, that's factually wrong. Greenland has 57,000 people, nearly double what Miller claimed. But here's the deeper problem. Millers dismissing an entire population as too small to matter. As if their sovereignty doesn't count because there aren't enough of them. By that logic, should Iceland be annexed too? They only have 370,000 people. What about Luxembourg? 650,000. Where's the line, exactly? And then Miller said this, and this is the part that should make your blood run cold. No one is going to fight against the United States over the future of Greenland. Translation: we're too powerful for anyone to stop us, so we're taking it. That's not democracy. That's not the rule of law. That's might makes right, the exact principle America was founded to oppose. Here's something that's going to twist your brain. The United States already has a massive military presence in Greenland. It's called Pituffik Space Base, formerly known as Thule Air Base. We've had it since 1951, with Denmark's full cooperation. We have 150 U.S. service members stationed there year-round. We have the world's northernmost deep-water port. We have missile defense systems, radar installations, space surveillance equipment, everything we supposedly need for Arctic security. So if we already have the base, why do we need to own Greenland? That's the question no one in the White House will answer honestly. And that brings us to the number I promised you at the beginning, the number that explains everything. But first, I need to know what you think. Drop a comment right now and tell me, would you rather live in a country that's militarily dominant but breaks international law, or a country that's less powerful but respects the rules? Tell me why. I'm reading every single comment, and some of the best insights in this community come from you. Here it is. The number that changes everything. 1.5 million metric tons. That's how much rare earth minerals Greenland is estimated to have in reserves. Now, technically it's ranked as the world's 8th largest deposit. But here's why that ranking is misleading. Most of the countries ahead of Greenland, China, Brazil, Vietnam, Russia, have already been mining their reserves for decades. Greenland's Kvanefjeld site? It's the largest untapped deposit outside of China. It's the holy grail because it's one of the only places on Earth where you can mine rare earths at this scale without being dependent on Beijing. Now, what are rare earth minerals? They're not actually rare, but they're incredibly hard to mine and process. And they're essential for smartphones, electric vehicles, wind turbines, military drones, missile guidance systems, basically every piece of modern technology. Here's the problem. Right now, China controls 60 to 70% of global rare earth production. And they're not shy about using that as leverage. In 2010, they cut off rare earth exports to Japan during a territorial dispute. It crippled Japanese manufacturing overnight. So when Trump says we need Greenland for national security, he's not entirely wrong. But he's lying about the reason. It's not about Russian ships lurking in Arctic waters. Danish military experts have called that claim an attempt to legitimize the takeover. It's not about Chinese bases, there are none in Greenland. It's about economic control. It's about not being dependent on China for the minerals that power our economy and military. But here's the catch, even if the US took over Greenland tomorrow, those minerals wouldn't be available for at least a decade. Because 1. Greenland's deposits are low-grade, much harder to extract than China's. 2. The infrastructure doesn't exist. No roads, no ports, no processing facilities. 3. The environmental costs are massive. Greenland passed a law in 2021 limiting uranium extraction to protect their environment. So this isn't even a practical solution to America's rare earth problem. It's a land grab disguised as security policy. And it gets worse. Let me read you Article 1 of the NATO Treaty, the treaty the United States wrote in 1949. The parties undertake to settle any international dispute by peaceful means and to refrain from the threat or use of force in any manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. By threatening military action against Greenland, which is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, a fellow NATO member, the United States is violating the first article of its own treaty. Norway's Foreign Minister Eide said it perfectly, it's difficult to see such a conflict between NATO countries and how the alliance should tolerate it. Translation: if America does this, NATO is finished. Not because someone officially disbanded it, but because the idea of NATO, that we're a community of democracies that respect each other's sovereignty, will be dead. Now here's where this gets personal for me, as an American watching from the outside. Denmark and Norway are founding members of NATO. They signed the Washington Treaty in 1949 alongside the United States. They've been our allies for 76 years. When the US invoked Article 5 after September 11th, the only time in NATO history, Denmark and Norway sent troops to Afghanistan. Norwegian soldiers died fighting alongside Americans in a war we started. And now we're threatening to annex part of their territory? Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen responded with a statement that should be front-page news in every American paper. The USA has no right to annex one of the 3 countries in our kingdom. And Norway immediately backed her up. Not with vague diplomatic language, but with crystal-clear solidarity. This is what trust looks like. This is what alliance looks like. Norway and Denmark have each other's backs because they actually believe in the principles NATO was founded on. Meanwhile, the United States, the country that invented the post-World War II order, is tearing it down for access to minerals we won't even be able to use for a decade. And Greenlanders themselves? They're furious. Greenland's Prime Minister, Jens-Frederik Nielsen, who took office in 2025 after a historic election, has been even blunter about Trump's threats. His government has made it crystal clear that Greenland will never become part of the United States. Here's the thing. Greenland has been working toward independence from Denmark for years. They want self-determination. They want to control their own future. But being colonized by the United States? That's not liberation. That's just trading one colonial power for another. This video is part of a larger investigation we're doing at Nexra. We're calling it the New Cold War, America versus the Nordic model. Because this isn't just about Greenland. This is about 2 fundamentally different visions of how society should work. The American model, power, dominance, winner takes all. The Nordic model, cooperation, equality, rule of law. And right now, we're watching those 2 models collide in real time. If you don't want to miss our next deep dive, we're investigating how Norway uses its nearly $2 trillion sovereign wealth fund to influence global markets without firing a single shot. Join the Nexra community now. Subscribe and hit the bell icon. It's the only way to make sure the algorithm keeps you in this loop. Because the mainstream media isn't covering this. They're too busy with clickbait and culture war drama. But we're mapping the systems that actually run the world. Remember that one number I promised you at the start? Here it is, $1.5 trillion. That's the estimated value of Greenland's rare earth deposits at current market prices. $1.5 trillion. For context, that's more than Denmark's entire GDP, $400 billion. Roughly equivalent to Norway's $2 trillion sovereign wealth fund, the largest sovereign wealth fund on Earth. Enough to fund the entire US military for 2 full years. So when Trump says we need Greenland, what he really means is, we want $1.5 trillion worth of minerals, and we're willing to destroy NATO to get it. That's not national security. That's not defense strategy. That's a resource grab, plain and simple. And here's the final gut punch. If the US actually pulled this off, it wouldn't just destroy NATO. It would send a message to every authoritarian regime on Earth. International law doesn't matter. Treaties don't matter. Sovereignty doesn't matter. Only power matters. China would use it as justification to take Taiwan. Russia would use it to justify Ukraine. Every territorial dispute on the planet would become a free-for-all. The world order that kept major powers from invading each other for 76 years? Gone. And all for minerals we won't even be able to extract for another decade. Most people will watch this video and move on. They'll forget about it by tomorrow. The algorithm will feed them something else, and this will just be another news cycle. But if you're still here right now, if you've watched this entire investigation, you're part of the 1% who actually care about how the world works. You're the kind of person who doesn't just consume information. You analyze it. You ask the hard questions. You follow the money. You read the treaties. Welcome to the team. Here's what I need you to do. 1. Hit that like button if this investigation opened your eyes to something the mainstream media isn't covering. 2. Share this video with someone who still thinks foreign policy is boring. Because it's not. It's literally the difference between peace and war. 3. Subscribe to Nexra and join thousands of others who are done with surface-level news and ready for the truth. And drop a comment telling me, do you think America should take Greenland, or should we respect Denmark's sovereignty? I want to hear both sides. Give me your best argument. I'm reading every comment, and I'll respond to as many as I can. Here's the thing that keeps me up at night. I love America. I believe in American ideals. Freedom, democracy, rule of law, those aren't just slogans. They're the principles that made America a superpower in the first place. But if we abandon those principles the moment they become inconvenient, what are we, really? Norway and Denmark are holding up a mirror right now. They're showing us what it looks like to actually believe in the rules we claim to care about. And the question isn't whether America is strong enough to take Greenland. We obviously are. The question is, are we strong enough to follow our own principles when it costs us something? I'll see you in the next investigation. And remember, the truth is in the data. You just have to be willing to look for it. This is Nexra, where we don't just report the news, we decode the system.